What is going on, YouTube? What is going on? Hopefully, everybody's doing good, feeling great. My name is Randy, and you're watching the Randy Talks Mets channel, where you get your latest Mets media, everything you know about the New York Mets on this channel. And today's video, we're going to get it started here with Pete Alonso's free agency. The Mets now in talks with Pete Alonso. This is huge news when it comes to Pete Alonso now in talks with the Mets. The Mets talks just started, according to John Heyman, which is really good news. Before we get into this video, definitely do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get right into this video here. And we're going to get it started here with the positive talks that started, guys. This is good news when it comes to the New York Mets. If you want Pete Alonso back, then this is good news for you. If you don't, maybe this is not so much good news for you, but this is a guy that had a 272 batting average, 38 home runs, 126 RBIs. Will Pete Alonso come back to the New York Mets? Now, that is the question. I don't know if he's going to end up with the New York Mets, if he's going to come back, but I think it's a good sign that the Mets are already talking to Pete Alonso. Really, really good sign. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, we will see what happens. I am hoping for the best when it comes to this situation with the New York Mets. The Mets need Pete Alonso to me. They need that bat. They need that bat in the lineup. I think when it comes to Pete Alonso, you saw Juan Soto, you saw Pete Alonso in the same lineup. That's a guy that needs to be in the lineup. Where are you replacing this power when it comes to the 38 home runs, 126 RBIs? Where are you replacing that? Where are you getting that in a free agent? Is it going to be Josh Naylor? I don't think it's going to be a Josh Naylor. So it's something to talk about. Obviously, when it comes to the New York Mets, I think that the Mets need him back. The Mets need this guy back. And I think that the Mets know that. But it is different now because Pete Alonso doesn't have that qualifying offer attached to him like last year. So there are going to be different suitors. I'm going to definitely get into that, but there definitely are going to be different suitors. So I'm glad that we are seeing Pete Alonso and the Mets have some discussions. Now, I want to get into here what Pete Alonso is looking for. Reportedly by Mike Puma of the New York Post, Pete Alonso is looking for a 7-year deal. We know that he is a Scott Boras client. And when it comes to the Mets and when it comes to Scott Boras, we saw how that negotiation went last year. It wasn't what Pete Alonso wanted. But this year, he put up the numbers. He did what he needed to do. I don't think, though, that he's going to get the 7-year deal that he thinks he's going to get. I don't think so. When it comes to scouts, when it comes to teams that look at Pete Alonso, they look at his age, they look at the first baseman, they look at the market. I just don't see Pete Alonso being in a team for 7 years, a 7-year deal. I just don't see it. Maybe he could get it. Maybe he can't. I really don't see it, though. Realistically, I see a 5-year deal, 165 mil maybe. And I don't think that's a bad deal at all. We know that reportedly in 2023, Pete Alonso declined that offer that the Mets offered him an extension. So I think that the New York Mets need this guy, but we've seen some, Stearns being hesitant to go that long-term route with Pete Alonso. We saw last year that he wanted to go away from Pete Alonso because he wanted him back, but he wanted him back on his terms. Now, this year, it could be very, very different because there's more suitors. The qualifying offer is not attached to him. So I think Pete Alonso is a guy that obviously he's been an awesome Met, and I think Stearns notices that. He understands, especially from Amazing Day and what the Met fans was telling him. He understands that the Mets want him back. They want Pete Alonso. They want Pete Alonso to be that first baseman. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Very, very interesting. Long-term contract, I think he's going to get a 5-year deal, 165 mil. Maybe you could go a 6-year deal. Maybe. Now, that is going to be interesting. Obviously, and also, we got to talk about what recently just happened with Scott Boras and Pete Alonso. Scott Boras and Pete Alonso are saying recently in the GM meetings that he is willing to DH. Pete Alonso is willing to DH. So that is a big thing, that Pete Alonso wasn't willing to DH and all that, but now he's willing to DH. So I think this is obviously Pete Alonso and Scott Boras trying to get the biggest option, trying to get more options, trying to be more open to the team. And I understand it. I get it. I understand why he's doing it. He needs to do it. He needs to do it. He knows that he's a first baseman. He knows that he's an aging player. He knows that he's an awesome slugger, one of the best sluggers in the game. I get that. He understands that. But Scott Boras now is training him better. He understands, Pete Alonso understands what he needs to do now to get that contract. Because last year had the qualifying offer, and he obviously coming off from going to free agency for the first time. It's better now that he understands how free agency is and how that can benefit him going forward. He got to think about himself. He got to think about his career. He got to think about what he needs to think about. We will see what happens with this guy. We will see what happens with Mr. Pete Alonso. Now, I want to talk about here the teams that could be interested in Pete Alonso. Because the Mets already are showing interest in Pete Alonso, and I love it. I think that the Mets need him back. They need this guy back. So I'm happy that the Mets and Pete Alonso are talking already. And there are positive talks. The negotiations is positive so far. That is a good thing. They're off to the right foot. Off to the right foot. That's how you want to get started with Pete Alonso. You don't want it to be negative. You don't want it to be like that. And I think the Mets, they want him back. But there's going to be other teams. There's going to be other suitors. And Scott Boras understands this. He understands that there's going to be other suitors. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. But I think that the Mets have the advantage. Because obviously, he's a Met. He's been a Met for some time. He loves the Mets. He's been an awesome Met. He just broke the record. Like, there's a lot of good things when it comes to Pete Alonso and the New York Mets and that tandem, that emotional advantage. Now, reportedly from John Heyman, the Orioles are interested in Pete Alonso. And I thought that was interesting. I thought I really didn't see the fit for the Orioles because money-wise, I don't know if they're willing to spend that money on Pete Alonso. He's going to want a lot of money. He's going to want a lot of money. The Red Sox is another team that I could see the Mets, not the Mets. The Red Sox is another team that I could see Pete Alonso being in. When you think about a right-hand slugger like Pete Alonso, you think about the perfect scenario for Pete Alonso to hit more home runs. Fenway is it. Boston is it. And his wife lives in Boston. So there are some key scenarios there. But I think that the Mets they have the advantage. They have the advantage over with this Pete Alonso situation. I think he's going to be loyal to the Mets to a fault. I don't know if he's going to be willing to take less money. But I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. This is a guy that the Mets need back, in my opinion. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go another route. Because I don't think that the Mets can wait forever for Pete Alonso. This can't be the Pete Alonso show like it was last year. It can't be. The Mets have to do other things. They got to get pitchers. They got to figure out the second base. They got to figure out what they need to figure out. It's a whole bunch of things that they need. They need to figure out Edwin Diaz. There's a lot of things that they need to fill, positions that they need to fill. And I think when it comes to Pete Alonso, if he doesn't play ball with this team, then what's going to happen? What's really going to happen? Is he going to leave the New York Mets? Is he going to leave that legacy on the table? I don't know. Is he going to get that big offer from Boston or the Orioles and come back to the Mets and be like, oh, are you matching this? See, that's something that I think is going to be interesting to find out. I think a lot of Met fans want Pete Alonso back. Obviously, the defense is something that has to be talked about. -9 defensive runs saved. You've seen the yips. You've seen the throws to Nolan McLean, to Clay Holmes, to Kodai Senga. You've seen the throws to second base. It's a lot of things that the Mets, they got to consider. Everything needs to be considered. Everything. So we will see what happens with Mr. Pete Alonso. I'm hoping the best for him. I'm hoping the best for this team. But I'll let you know what happens next, guys. Let's go, Mets. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. And yeah, let me get out of here, man. Everybody enjoy your Thursday.